Right guys, here we are. Welcome back to yet another reaction video. My name is Jacob McDonald and my YouTube channel is titled, well, would you believe, Jacob McDonald. I come to you as a rugby player, 25 years experience. I've watched every single, I've watched all the greats, to be honest. Rugby, believe it or not, only became professional. It became a professional sport in 1995, and that's pretty much when I got into it. So, look, I've been treated for 25 years, 27 years actually, of the best. I'm 31 years of age at the moment. And speaking of age, today I will be reacting to the oldest NFL players of all time. And honestly, just looking at this guy, he's got to be at least 50, surely. If he's younger than Tom Brady, and Tom Brady looks as good as he does at 45, I will eat my hat. He has to be older than Tom Brady. If not, I guess I'll eat my hat. Either way, guys, this video is brought to you by KTO. It's been brought out just a short 2 months ago, and I will be reacting to it as a rugby player. Let's get into it.
The average age to retire...
Oh, there he is! There he is! The man! The man, the myth, the legend! Mate! It's been a while.
United States is currently 66 years old. In the NFL, it's 26. To make it in the National Football League for a long time, not only do you have to be one of the best in the world at what you do, but you have to be fortunate enough to stay healthy playing one of the most physically demanding games.
Yeah, look, that hit would literally put well, someone into retirement, let's be honest.
On the planet. The 40 Years and Over Club, a club more rare than the Hall of Fame, only has 4 active members. And out of approximately 25,000 men to ever put on an NFL uniform, there are less than 70.
Okay, so this was a couple of years back. Drew Brees was still playing. Tom Brady is still playing. I've got absolutely no idea who the hell that is for the Dallas Cowboys, and number 18 for the Eagles. Well, yeah, let's not go there. 25,000 men to ever play, and less than 70 have played at the age of 40 or above.
Members ever. What's going on, everybody? I'm KTO, and today we're going to be discussing the oldest men to ever play in the NFL.
I'll be honest, man. It's nice to put a name to a face, or a face to a name. KTO, Carlston the Oracle. There he is in all his glory. He's this is 2 years ago, by the way. His beard may be down to his chest by this point, but I doubt it. Either way, this guy looks like he's about 50 years old. Honestly, 50 plus. And if he's playing in the NFL, well, that's something else.
Now, there is one thing to consider when discussing this topic. As many of you know, kickers and punters tend to last a lot longer since they don't participate in the physical aspect of the game as much.
True.
So for this video, we will first dive into who the oldest player ever was, and then later dive into the oldest at the other positions on the field. Now, before we dive into the video, I quickly wanted to ask you something. Have you ever wanted to read more books, or just
don't do it?
Let's dive into the oldest player in NFL history.
Alright, let's do it. And don't tell me he was a kicker, because that's going to be disappointing.
Now, by no means is it easy to be a kicker or punter, but
the oldest
play
player
a lot longer
Whoa,
than other
wowee! Well, it was a successful kick, I'll tell you that much, but the run-up was atrocious, actually.
On the field. Kickers and punters make up for more than a third of the NFL's 40 Years and Over club. And on top of that, the 6 oldest players in NFL history were all kickers. Okay. Adam Vinatieri is currently 47 and will be 48 in December of this year.
All right,
he is holding his own right now as the oldest player in the NFL.
Bro, he looks like Santa Claus, for God's sake. 47 years of age.
NFL and third oldest of all time. If you want a tangible example of how long he's been in the league, I wasn't even 1 yet when he entered in 1996. Here I am.
What the hell? What on earth? 1996. Look at that. Trading card, eh? New England Patriots. Adam Vinatieri. And he's still in the league 24 years later. That is absolutely...
4 years later, and Vinatieri is still playing.
Look, it's not unbelievable. Clearly it's the truth, but it's absolutely ridiculous.
Crazy. But like I said, Vinatieri is the third oldest player of all time, coming in just behind number 2, Morten Andersen, who was the former all-time record holder for points. For those of you who remember my video about kickers, he once wrote a pretty tight song. And now we move on to number 1, the oldest NFL player of all time, George Blanda.
Don't tell me he was 50. Do not tell me he was 50. I'm going to say 48. I'm going to say 49 at most. But if there's ever been an NFL player that is 50 years old, obviously he's going to be a kicker. Well, being 31 myself, I mean, it's not all over. It's got to be... Well, let's find out.
A man who wasn't just a kicker. In fact, he was also a quarterback. Blanda has one of the most interesting and mind-blowing career paths you'll ever see. He started his pro career in 1949 as a quarterback for the Chicago Bears. Then, in 1975, he would play his final game for the Oakland Raiders, a career that spanned over 4 separate decades. When you start hearing about what other records and awards he has, it just shows
48 years of age. And this is a kicker. Tom Brady is 45, playing at quarterback. Rushing the ball, ducking under tackles, you know, throwing like the best of them. I mean, he got 4,500 yards last year, and he'll probably do the same this year. 45 years of age, and this guy's 48.
Shows you how unique his career was. I mean, who else would have a record like most PAT?
That's got to be a head coach, surely. Surely this guy's not playing. But apparently he is.
He's made and attempted in a career, and 7
26 seasons. 26 seasons played
in a single game. Only this guy. And I gotta mention his most notorious one. He once threw 42 interceptions in a season, a record that only Jameis Winston could break. But despite all those unique records, what Blanda did in 1970 is what elevated him to legendary status. At the age of 43, Blanda was older than most coaches. He served as the team's place kicker and backup quarterback. Then, after the team got off to a disappointing start to the season, Blanda would go on to have an incredible 5-game stretch. It started in Week 6 against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
He's playing quarterback at 43 years of age. It's not unheard of. I mean, let's be honest, Tom Brady is in the league, but still.
Starting quarterback Daryl LaMonica was benched in the first quarter due to a back injury. Blanda, the oldest player in that game, came in and threw 3 touchdowns, putting the Raiders back on the right track of winning. No one was ready for what happened next.
I'll tell you what, KTO is the master of storytelling, and this is a story.
A fine catch at the 15, he's creamed at the 46-yard line of the Chiefs. And with 8 seconds, George Blanda is handed the incredibly difficult job of about 47 or 48
Down 17-14 with seconds remaining. The Raiders set up a long field goal attempt. Blanda, age 43, hadn't made one from this far in 2 years. All right.
Field goal.
Don't tell me he played quarterback, but also kicked a winning field goal. You've got to be kidding me.
It's snapped. No. It's down. It's kicked. It is good. It's good. It is good. George Blanda has kicked a 48-yard field goal.
No way. Oh, here we go. Down 20-13 in the fourth. Starting quarterback Daryl LaMonica suffers another injury, needing a touchdown to tie. In steps Blanda.
To the right, Blanda back to pass.
43 years of age.
Throws, complete touchdown, Wells. Raiders score. Now the conversion. Snap, spotted.
He comes in as backup quarterback, throws the winning touchdown. Well, it wasn't winning just yet, but can you imagine it? Can you imagine the quarterback throwing a touchdown, then lining up for the extra point? I can't. But apparently back in the day, that was, well, that's what he did.
Kick. Good.
That's crazy, bro.
It's 20-20. 44 seconds to go. Gets the blocking. All the time in the world. He throws one intercepted by McCoy.
Don't tell me he's playing cornerback and he gets a fucking interception.
McClure at the 50.
No,
McClure
not
races
quite,
right
not
to the
quite.
right, knocked down by Kelly. 7 seconds to go. They're going to try a field
Lines
goal
up a
from
52
53
yarder.
yards.
And look, I'll be honest, you know, that the run up is not quite what they do these days. He was a two-stepper, and in fact, he was a toe punter. And at 52 yards, I mean, that's not easy. Let's see what
The
happens.
odds against this must be about 76 million to a half. Well, George did it from 48 last week with maybe 3 feet to spare. Left hash
Hasn't made it from this far in nearly a decade.
Stabler not as experienced holding his Lamonica.
52 yards.
Here it is. Snap. Spotted. It's kicked. That's got a chance. That is good. It's good. Holy Toledo.
Holy Toledo.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
Oh, what do we got here? Oh my God, this just gets better and better. The following week, trailing in the fourth, 19-17, Blanda replaces Lamonica again. He throws the game-winning touchdown and, well, let's find out. Holy Toledo. George Blanda had bested 4 NFL teams in a row as a 43-year-old man. But it wasn't over yet.
He's going to run. He's being pursued by DeLone. He's at the 40. He first down at the 45. 30-yard line. He's out of bounds. Holy Toledo. The Raiders have the first down.
Holy Toledo. There he is. There he is. The man, the myth, the legend. 17 apiece. 12 seconds, 8 seconds, 7, 6. Call a timeout.
Everybody here knew exactly what they were waiting for. And here
well, there he comes. You know, not as a quarterback, but as a game-winning kicker.
comes George Blanda onto the field.
What a season.
The 16-yard line.
What a player.
Spotted. He waits. It's snapped. It's spotted. It's kicked. It is.
What a run-up. I'll be honest, what a run-up.
Has kicked the Oakland Raiders into a 3-point lead. 4 seconds remain to go.
Blanda's incredible 5-game run will go down as one of the greatest stretches of all time.
Mate,
Along with
that's
another game-winning
incredible,
extra
bro.
point in Week 12, he helped the Raiders reach the AFC Championship game. A game
QB/kicker. You won't see that again in the NFL. You will never see that again. I'll tell you that right now.
in which he scored all 17 of the team's points. The Associated Press named him 1970 Male Athlete of the Year for his services. It just has me thinking how ridiculous it would be to see Tom Brady lead a drive downfield and then nail a game-winning field goal.
Yeah, that's the thing, bro. Yeah, okay. Tom Brady can certainly still throw it. He can still sling it with the best. And at this stage, he was 43. Now he's 45. But can you imagine him actually kicking a field goal? No.
Now, Blanda's career came to a heartbreaking end. In 1976, the Raiders cut him. If it was his choice, he probably would have kept playing. It just wasn't in the cards. And that year, the Raiders finally went on to win a Super Bowl. Blanda had to watch from home. Still,
no.
Blanda's career should be celebrated for what he was able to accomplish. If there's ever a movie made about his football life, Woody Harrelson should play him. Anyways, let's move on.
Oh man, we're moving on. We've seen a lot thus far. 48 years of age. But in his 43rd year, had a season like no other. Now what do we see? The other positions. Who is the oldest wide receiver to ever play? Who is the oldest running back to ever play? Who's the oldest linebacker to ever play? In fact, who's the oldest player to ever play, apart from a kicker? Because as we know, the top 6 are all kickers. Let's get into it.
As far as pure quarterbacks go, Tom Brady is closing in on the oldest ever, fast approaching 43 years old.
Well, he's 45 now, so yeah.
He is trailing just 4 other dudes. Topping that list is Steve DeBerg. DeBerg was a bit of a journeyman. He played for multiple teams.
Well, I guess I've got to look up some stats. I mean, it wouldn't be a Rugby Player Reacts video without looking up some stats. The oldest NFL quarterbacks Tom Brady is not only the greatest quarterback of all time, but he's also the oldest player entering the 2022-2023 NFL regular season. The 6-time champion, 7-time champion, isn't it? Alright, the 10 oldest NFL quarterbacks ever. Brett Favre, oldest age while playing, 41. No, that's number 10. Alright, let's go down to number 1. Let's go straight to the bottom. Right, well, clearly, as we know, George Blanda is the oldest ever NFL quarterback playing the position at the age of 48. But coming in at number 2 is John Nesser. He died in 1931. But he played it at 45 years old in 1921. Would you believe? 10 years prior to dying at the age of 55. Either way, we go down to number 3. And that is Steve DeBerg, playing at 44 years, 9 months and 6 days. He's still alive. He played between the years of 1977 to 1993, and then again in 1998. And then we go at number 4, Tom Brady. 44 years, 8 months, 24 days, as of April 2022. So we're in, what are we in? September? That means 44 years, 8 months. Actually, he might even be 45. He might even be 45. In which case, he will eclipse Steve DeBerg and become the 3rd oldest ever NFL quarterback to play the game.
He played for multiple teams until he retired at the age of 39. Then, out of nowhere, after a 5-year hiatus, he signed with the Atlanta Falcons. And he must have known something that others didn't, because they...
DeBerg. I just saw this cunt. I'm doing your research for you. Honestly, Steve DeBerg, there we go. Yeah, 1977 to 1993, and out of nowhere, in 1998, signs with the Atlanta Falcons.
went from a losing franchise the previous year to going 14-2 and making the Super Bowl. And it just happened to follow DeBerg's 45th birthday. He gets to claim the honor as the oldest active player
like
on a Super Bowl roster. Pretty dope. Honestly though, neither being a kicker nor a quarterback is as impressive as playing other positions at an older age. While quarterbacks do take a hit every once in a while, offensive and defensive linemen have to hit each other on every single play. That's what truly makes Ray Brown and Jim Marshall stand out. Ray Brown is the oldest offensive lineman to play in the modern era, starting a few games for Washington at the age of 42. Some things do age like wine,
years of age.
And this was the case for Brown's football career. After playing his first 15 seasons in the league, Brown made his first Pro Bowl at the age of 39. Now, let's look at Jim Marshall, the man who's most notoriously known for running backwards with the ball once.
Jim Marshall is running the wrong way. Marshall is running
Where are you going, bro?
Blunder,
Where are you
Marshall
going?
is the definition
Where are you going?
of Iron Man.
It's a safety.
He started his
It's
pro
a
career
safety.
in Cleveland in 1960, but was traded to Minnesota in 1961. Then, for 19 straight seasons, 282 consecutive games, he started every single one of those. This is the most by any defensive player ever, and it only ended because he finally retired at the age.
You're telling me that Brett Favre played 299 consecutive games? That's fucked up.
Age of 42. Minnesota had some dogs back in the day. It's truly a shame that they never won a Super Bowl, but that's a topic for another video. Okay, let's shift gears. Let's look at skill positions.
Looks like a rare audible from Hasselbeck.
It's got to be Jerry Rice, surely. Jerry Rice has got to be up there, right? The oldest wide receiver at 40 years of age. I mean, shit. The oldest running back. I'd love to know. Let's find out.
Pass, a one-handed grab by Rice.
For a lot of older football fans, this has to be one of the weirdest things to look at. Jerry Rice, 49ers legend, pulling in one-handers for the Seahawks at 42 years old.
42! Pulling in one-handed catches at 42 years of age. Wowee. Wowee. Jerry Rice.
How how dominant Jerry Rice was and how long he played, he has some of the most untouchable career records that you'll ever see. The man has one of the greatest work ethics of all time and was as consistent as they come. Honestly, just saying this little doesn't do him justice, and he probably deserves a video on his own. But for the purposes of what we're talking about, Jerry Rice is the oldest receiver to ever play by far. He also had a 1,000-yard season at the age of 40, which gives him even more legendary status.
Shit! Bruh! Man! And are we going to talk about Larry Fitzgerald? Yeah, I feel like we are. Let's have a wee listen, guys.
Currently, Larry Fitzgerald is hanging in there as the oldest active receiver in the NFL. If he wants to match Rice's age when he retires, Fitz will have to play through the 2025 season. Playing wide receiver at a high level requires so much skill and athleticism, it makes sense why there's not that many old dudes out there. But what about the guys who have to guard those dudes?
Man, I think I had some good mentors ahead of me, who taught me the game and at an early age let me slow the game down.
How old is this guy? Don't tell me he's 40. Don't tell me he's 40.
Bit. Now that I'm older, I don't have to play much off of skill. I can just play off my mind.
Tramon Williams is the oldest active defensive back in the league. He credits former teammates, like Charles Woodson, who helped teach him the mental part of the game. Coincidentally, Woodson played till he was 39. Now, NFL defenses are incredibly complex, more complex than the average NFL fan understands. But one thing that most football fans understand is the differences between man and zone. Zone coverage is more of a mental game. You stick to your zone, you see what's happening in front of you, and you react accordingly. But man coverage is a totally different ballgame. You gotta be able to stick with guys who move like this.
Go against Seattle. And what they did on third down.
Adams
Rodgers gonna air
against
it
Sherman.
out. Devontae Adams downfield. He's got it.
How did I know that? Man, I gotta give myself a pat on the back for that. I really do. I really do. Both
When
guys
you look
are...
at the all-time great man cover corners, you begin to get perspective of how hard it is to play man-on-man at an older age. Darrelle Revis was one of the best corners in the NFL, and he was still playing at a high level at the age of 30. But by 32, he was barely playing, and he was released after a single season with the Chiefs. He would retire shortly thereafter. Champ Bailey was one of the greatest corners of all time, and is now a Hall of Famer. At 35, he couldn't manage to make an NFL roster.
Man, I don't believe that. How does that happen?
And finally, arguably the greatest corner ever, Deion Sanders
Actually, how long did Deion Sanders play? 36?
played till he was 38.
38?
He had taken 3 years off, after retiring at 33. He would play 2 seasons with the Ravens, but he didn't even start that many games for them before he retired for the final time. The reasons for these guys falling off make sense. They no longer contained that same freak-like speed and athleticism that they had in their younger years. But then, there's Darrell Green.
Here's McNabb on the play fake and the pass, and it's picked off. Redskins get it back, so first down is the old guy. Darrell Green. How many? 19 straight season with an
19th straight season
and that
with
is an
interception.
NFL record.
Oh,
When
shit.
Darrell Green intercepted that pass, it extended his record as the oldest player ever to get an interception, which was at the age of 41. And he still
41.
started a handful of games
That's the thing, bro. After having looked at, a hell of a lot of stats, and a hell of a lot of Wikipedia stats, to see a career that spans that long. I mean, the guys that come to mind are, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Larry Fitzgerald. And, hey, if I was doing reaction videos back in 2002, which would have been absolutely impossible because YouTube was formed in 2005, then I most likely would have been looking at this guy.
corner at the age of 42. Now, listen to this next story, because this truly shows how much of a freak this dude was. This is from an article done on Green by ESPN in 2001. Quote, Green's best known title is the NFL's fastest man, which he won several times in off-season competitions in the 1980s and carried unofficially for nearly a decade. He finally lost his title of the Redskins' fastest player in 1999, but marveled teammates by regaining it a year later with a 4.24 time in the 40-yard dash. I tried to find out whether this was a hand time or an automatic time because it would make a difference, but I couldn't find any substantial evidence. However, the one thing I did find was Champ Bailey was on that team. And for those of you who know, Champ Bailey was a burner. He ran a 4.28 at the combine just 1 year before that, and 40-year-old Darryl beat him. That's unbelievable. His nickname was the Ageless Wonder. We might not see another dude like this for a while, if ever. But now, let's wrap this video up by talking about the one position that's harder to play at an older age than cornerback.
What is it? What is it? Let me think. We've gone through wide receivers. We've certainly gone through kickers. We've gone through cornerbacks. It's got to be running back, surely. It has to be running back.
I'm talking about running backs. Being an NFL running back is a grueling job. It's got to be
Adrian Peterson, surely.
You have to run into or block defensive linemen and linebackers, dudes who are usually much bigger than you, who are paid millions of dollars to light you up. Looking at current running backs, there were only 4 in 2019 that got significant playing time over the age of 30. Mark Ingram, LaShawn McCoy, Adrian Peterson, and the man who just hit 37 years old, Frank Gore. Frank Gore suffered 2 devastating knee injuries in college, and entering the NFL draft, he didn't put up very impressive combine stats, and he fell to the 3rd round.
Well, the 6th of the Wonderlick, that is absolutely atrocious. How the hell? 6 in the Wonderlick? Are you kidding me, bro? What's going on there? Either way, 4.58 for the 40-yard dash, 34 inches in the vertical jump, 9'1" in the broad jump, 17 reps on the bench, and a 6 in the Wonderlick. And he's still there 20 years later.
But one thing that people didn't know was how reliable and durable this dude would become.
Durable.
You look at the top 15 rushers in
durable.
NFL history,
That's for sure.
13 of them were first-round picks and expected to be great. Only 2 were not high draft picks, Curtis Martin and our man, Frank Gore. Gore is never really talked about as the best running back, nor has ever really been in that conversation. Yet, what he's been able to accomplish in his career is nothing short of spectacular. At one point, Frank Gore had racked up 1,200 yards from scrimmage in 12 straight seasons. That's the most all-time by 2 years. And you look at the 3 guys behind him at number 2, and that list includes Curtis Martin, Emmitt Smith, and Barry Sanders. All of which are in the Hall of Fame.
That he's running
I'm not
with.
trying to convince you that he's better than any of those guys. All I'm trying to say is who would have thought in 2005 that a 3rd-round pick, a guy who ran a slow 40 and suffered 2 torn ACLs in college, would become the most durable and reliable running back of the next generation.
No one would have thought that. Not a chance. Not a chance. Get out of my way. Get out of my way. Get out of my way.
Touchdown, San Francisco. What a run by Gore. 52-yard rip, breaking tackles and taking it the distance.
Ladies, G. Oh, another fantastic video. Another fantastic video by KTO. Thank you so much, my man. Thank you so much. This is over 2 years old, obviously. You know, some of these players... Well, Frank Gore played another couple of years, but he's out of the league. Tom Brady is still in the league. What a video. What an experience. And, hey, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out and much love.